Hi everyone, it's Grace again with a new book. This time it's Ling and Ting's Lunar New Year. Yes, Ling and Ting are back, and I have a special offer for educators. If you order this book before February 5th from the Carl Museum Bookshop, you'll receive a free virtual school visit with me on February 12th. At this visit, I'll share the customs of the Lunar New Year and we'll draw a horse together for the Year of the Horse. The webinar will be recorded, so you can watch it at a later time if you're not able to join live. But it's a great way to celebrate the Lunar New Year with your students. The link to all the info is in the show notes. I hope to see you. Thanks!
Hi, I'm Alvina Ling.
And I'm Grace Lin.
And we're book friends
Forever!
We're childhood friends
Who grew up to be
a children's book editor.
and an author and illustrator. Yay!
Welcome to Book Friends Forever. This is the Inventory Management with Lianna Izzo episode.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at bookfriendsforever_podcast.
So as you can tell from our episode title, and if you're watching on video, you can tell that we have a special guest joining us. Lianna Izzo, who is our Manager of Supply and Demand Planning at Hachette Book Group. Lianna, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more for our audience?
Sure. Hey, everybody. And hey, Alvina and Grace. Thanks for having me today. As Alvina said, my name is Lianna Izzo. I have been working at HBG for, 13 years now.
Oh, wow.
It's been a while. I've been in demand planning for 21 years, and I've been in publishing for 18 of those years. I am a self-proclaimed book nerd. I love everything about books all the time. So
Yay.
this is the perfect place for me. And on a personal note, I'm also the mom of two little ones, Amelia, who's 4, and Luca, who just turned 1 year old last month.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Outside of publishing, what were you doing demand planning for outside of those 18 year or 21 years?
So a little fun fact about me is I never planned on being in publishing or in inventory management at all. I actually went to college and studied music business, and I wanted to work in the music industry, which I did for
Cool.
about 2.5 to 3 years. Loved it. It was fun. The shine came off of it very quickly. I started in inventory management there. It was like a foot in the door for me. And I never planned on staying in inventory management, but I just really enjoyed the nuances of it and how you got to see a lot of the business and really be a huge part of the cog of, in the machine, basically. But after a couple of years in the music business, I saw where things were going with the rise of the digital revolution, and that inventory was not going to be a thing there for very much longer. But I knew I wanted to stay in a creative aspect of business. So I saw a job opening at Penguin and I applied for it and I got it. And I was there for 3 years before I moved over here.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we'll dive into that more soon. But first, we always catch up with each other's lives. So, Grace, why don't you start? I'm curious to know how you've been.
Yes, how have I been? I've been busy. I've been doing a couple of public events, which is interesting. I came back from the Texas Book Fest, which we talked about last week, and I did Educator Night at the Carl Museum, which was really great. There was so just to talk to teachers again, and then I had a virtual school visit today, which was also great because I forgot how fun it is to talk to kids. For the first time, usually when I do a virtual visit, they mute the kids, right? And so I'm always talking to silence, but for some reason, today they decided not to mute the kids. I have a feeling it was more of they didn't know how to
It was
the
an
technical.
oversight.
Yeah, it's just an oversight. But actually, I really liked it because they were interacting the whole time. So that was really fun. And then on Friday, I have to wake up at 4 in the morning
Oh
and
gosh.
drive to Framingham because I'm going to give a little talk to now I'm forgetting what it's called, but it's to legislators
Mm.
and librarians at the Framingham Public Library to talk about book banning. So I wasn't going to do it because it's not a paid thing or anything like that. But so many things have been happening in terms of book banning. I kind of felt like it was my duty to like do this. So
Yeah.
when they asked me to talk about like the impact it's having, I felt like, oh, okay, I feel like this is something I can do, so I should do this. So that is what I am up to and just trying to get work done. So I'm kind of on a bit of an upswing on good news in terms of publishing, which is a little rare. No, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. But I felt like after I came back from the Texas Book Festival, I was kind of on a low because I think I always have that comparison problem, even though I'm getting better at it. But then a lot of great things have happened. I'm not sure what I can share, but I got a couple of starred reviews for
You can
the
share
Ling
that
Ting book. And
and maybe don't share anything else yet.
yes, okay, and then that's it.
We are, yes, we're doing that thing that people hate. I actually don't know the timing, so it's probably okay to share, but let's just not just to be safe.
Okay. How about you? How have you been?
Me, I've been I've had a lot of fun events lately, which I feel like there was a kind of a quiet period just socially and just not really doing much. And then this past week, it's just been really busy with both kind of work stuff and social things. So today, this is launch week for us. So today was our launch presentation, and it's always just a lot of prep leading up to that. So I'm really happy that it's done. We just finished like an hour and a half ago, or maybe 2 hours ago. Um, and then last night, I was at the National Coalition Against Censorship Gala, which was a really wonderful event, as always. It's great to see so many people speaking out for freedom of speech and against book banning and censorship. Um, Dr. Carla Hayden was one of the honorees, and I hadn't ever met her before, and it was wonderful to meet her. One of my colleagues, Lisa, actually told her about our childhood friendship, Grace, and so she was curious, like how that worked, so I was kind of explaining, and then we got interrupted, but. But I got to share a little bit of that, which was fun.
Oh, that's
Um,
great. I've never met her. You know that? Like,
yeah,
I feel sad about that, but I'm sure I will hopefully
she's of
someday.
course lovely. And yeah, and her speech was wonderful. And then another work thing last Friday was the Society of Illustrators original art show,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was, as always, really fun. Just a lot of the designers and editors and art directors and illustrators all gathered, and it's always really crowded, but it's also just a wonderful event, and it's great to see people and catch up. And then on kind of like the fun social things is I went to a dance party on Saturday.
Oh,
Nancy Mercado, who's associate publisher at Penguin, she's been hosting these dance parties all year, and I've just never been able to make it to one. So finally, we were able to make it, and it was a Latin music themed dance party, and it was just I never get to dance except at weddings, and I haven't been invited to a wedding in a long time, so it was just really fun just to let loose. And dance. And then, as always, I do monthly karaoke, which turns into more like bi-monthly or even like 3 times, But we actually did it on Monday, and it was like a core group, and we went 2 hours instead of the usual one, and it was fun. I'm actually doing karaoke a lot, like for the next couple weeks because we have our holiday. Lianna, I don't know if you knew this, but like after the LBYR holiday party, we usually do like this after party that's karaoke that Mary
That's
Kate
fun.
Gaudet plans. And so that's going to be coming up. And yeah, so
let me ask you a question. Since
yes.
you love to sing and things like that. So, recently I took a photo with some author friends, like we were hanging out at night, and somebody made a joke like, "Oh, it looks a little early for Christmas caroling," and then they said, "Oh, that'd be so funny having a kid lit carol group." And
Ah,
then I was thinking that would be so sweet to like have like an annual Christmas caroling group. Like, would that be something you would ever do? Like, you guys sing so much. Would you ever do Christmas caroling?
I would, but I don't know where we would go.
You can go to the different departments in the building.
Oh my gosh. That's true. Way back I wasn't involved, but I feel like when I first joined Hachette, or it wasn't Hachette yet, it might have been Time Warner Book Group. They had a choir, and I think they did perform at like a holiday party once, but I did not. I didn't enjoy it. I don't know that.
Could you
I
like walk
mean,
around Brooklyn? I mean, I guess traditionally it's like people's houses that you
well,
would
I
like
did
walk in
Christmas
the
Carol as
neighborhood,
a
right?
kid. We would, yeah,
Yeah.
we would like go around the neighborhood and you would ring the
And
doorbell
then
and
you
then
ask for
sing
money.
songs. It's so awkward though, but it was fun. Yeah, maybe I'll consider
I guess
it.
I was thinking about it because I think that would be so fun. Because
You
we've
should
tried
do
to
that. I
do,
mean, in Northampton, you could totally do that.
yeah, because we do like chicken carols where we sing to our chickens. But I was like, oh, it might be fun if I could get a bunch of kidlit people and then we could do it
Yes,
like at certain areas. And we could like ask for money for authors against book ban or something like
right.
that, or something, a gate, and like maybe make a whole $5 or something like that.
That's fun. You should try it.
Anyway.
Leanna, how about you? How have you been recently?
Good, busy. We are deeply entrenched in our busy season right now. I don't know if most people know this, but the holiday season, you think Christmas and rushing to get shopping done in December, but in the book business, you're basically done by December 1st because everything that you can print and ship has printed and shipped. So there's really not much you can do to move the needle after that. So October and November are our busy season for getting books out and filling orders and getting stuff into accounts. So it's been a lot of that the last 2 months, which has left very little time to breathe. um, on a personal note, I'm hosting my first Thanksgiving next week.
Ooh.
So
Yay.
I'm having 22 people at my
Whoa.
house.
Wow.
I come from a big Italian family. My husband has a big Italian family. He's one of four. So we're having a whole slew of people here for the first time since we moved into our home. And I'm a little nervous because I've never cooked a turkey before, but we'll see how it goes.
Do
We're
you
doing a
do
practice turkey on Friday, so we'll see how it
do
goes.
you know what
Ah,
recipe you're using? Because my husband he did a turkey for the first time last year and it turned out really well. But he did
My
so much
brother's
research.
My brother sent me a Gordon Ramsay one, which apparently has like bacon thrown over the top of the turkey. I don't know if I'm going to do that one. I've been watching a lot of stuff on Epicurious and the New York Times cooking. That's about throwing a cheesecloth wrapped soaked in butter. Basically, butter is the magic
Yes.
ingredient. The more butter you put on the turkey, the better. So we're gonna see how it goes.
Yes. I think he might have used an Alton Brown
Okay.
technique. So it was more like how the temperature and all that. So I'll
Mhm.
look to see because actually someone else was asking. Not that you're asking, but if you're
I'll
curious.
take all the help I can get.
Yes.
So
That's exciting.
yeah,
Where do you live, by the way?
I'm in Westchester.
Okay. So
So yeah,
not too far.
I'm in Somers, which is about 45 minutes north of the
Mhm.
city. So
That's a lot of people.
yeah, yeah, it's gonna be
Are
a
you going
full
to have a
house.
kids table or is it all going to be on one table?
I don't know if we're gonna be able to fit in one large table with 22 people. So I
Yeah.
think we're gonna kind of set up. We have our dining room, and then we'll probably have another table set up like through the living room for people to sit. Our family, for some reason, always congregates in the kitchen. Nobody
Mhm.
wants to actually sit. So I'm sure there'll be people at our island and kind of mulling around, and
Yeah.
we'll just wing it.
That's fun. Yay.
Yeah.
yay. Okay,
Um,
wait. My daughter just slipped me a boba
ooh,
tea.
nice.
So hold on, I gotta pop it. All right.
It's
Okay, just wanted
ASO.
you to
We
know.
could have had the sound on for ASMR. Just kidding.
All right. Now we're ready.
Okay, so I am excited to kind of just dive in and talk a little bit more about your role. So you talked about how you got started, and then you mentioned how long you've been at HBG. But why don't we start with the beginning and define what exactly your job means? Inventory management, demand, supply.
Yeah, so basically inventory management is the process of overseeing all flow of a business's goods. In this case, books, and it's from the raw materials all the way through to the finished product. Um, We are involved in pretty much every facet of what goes into planning for how much inventory we're going to need, ordering the inventory, shipping the inventory out to customers, all the way through to basically the end of life of a book and dealing with overstock and when the rate of movement slows down and it's time to make room in the warehouse for new books. Supply and demand is really about avoiding disruptions in the system and helping our company to remain profitable by making sure that we can fill as many orders as we can at a moment's notice. So in my role, if you think about a book, when we are planning a book, when we go to a print meeting, we do forecasting, we take comparative titles, we take estimates that we get from our sales team, and we marry those together in our systems to come up with what we think a book is going to sell. And we make recommendations for how much to print. And then we go and work with our production team to get those orders into the system. And we work with the sales team to make sure we fill those orders with their accounts and with our warehouse team and our fulfillment teams to make sure that we can get them out of the warehouse in a timely way. So basically just covers every way, which way you can handle one unit of a book from start to finish.
So I know in children's books, especially picture books, we print overseas usually, and it takes a long time for a book to get to our warehouses from usually China.
Mhm.
Um, and so I know with our picture books, we tend to print a little bit longer than we might if
Yeah.
something is domestic. But can you talk about that difference a little bit and how that's calculated?
Yeah, sure. So there are many different facets that go into coming up with a print recommendation. Like I said, we look at comparative titles that to see what they sold. We look at publicity and marketing plans to see what we think could really move the needle there. And then the other thing we look at is our planner lead times. And that is basically all the time it takes, including acquiring raw materials, having the vendor have their time to actually make the book, and then also transportation time. Uh, Typically, when you're printing a book overseas, it comes over by vessel, so on a boat. So books can be on the water from somewhere from 6 to 8 weeks at a time, which makes our opportunities to print tighter and really see how a book is going to react in the marketplace a lot shorter because you have to anticipate that you're looking at somewhere between 3 and 4 months to get books into the warehouse. So where we may print usually between, I would say, 3 to 4 months, sometimes up to 6 months for a domestic title at a time, with the thought that it will take 2 to 4 weeks to get books into the warehouse. With an overseas title, we're looking at closer to 9 to 12 months that we're looking to keep in the warehouse, just because it's going to take 3 to 4 months for those books to get to us. It's a little bit harder with an overseas title because the estimates are not usually solid from sales because we're so far in advance of their selling period when we have to push the button on a printing. So we take more of a leap with an overseas title. But for me, those are sometimes the books that are more fun to play with because you really have to dive into the data that you're looking at to make a recommendation.
When do you first start working on books?
Oh, it's interesting because I feel like while I'm not part of the acquisition process, I feel like I really need to know what's going on from like day one. I am part of the sales meeting, like you were talking about launch meetings, and I am part of those sales meetings that we have. This are our sales conference meetings because I love it's important for us to hear about the books and to hear what the plans are for the books, so that way we know when the time comes at a first print meeting, how we want to position this and what kind of inventory we may need. Typically, we start with a book, I would say somewhere between 3 to 9 months before it goes on sale. That's when we really start to look at what we're going to print and to get those orders into the production team.
Mhm.
Before you were saying how you like to go into the data and like you're saying that's kind of like the fun part, like, and now you have to dig into the data. What are the things that you dig into? Just, like that's can you give an example? Like,
let's say
Yes.
for a new Graceland picture book. So I just
Well,
launched Little Stone Buddha.
Oh, okay.
yes. So for something like that, obviously Grace is one of our house authors. Yay. So we have a lot of history with her and we have a lot of other books that we can look at, which is one of the things that we'll pull in. So when I say a comparative title, I may go and pull one of Grace's other books, Big Moon Cake, or one of the other comparable picture books and use the data of how that sold and what the plans were for that book to see how it's going to affect the new book or if the new book is going to perform the same way. We there's a term that we use called sales curve, and that's basically how our sales are going to work over a 52-week period. And each week is broken out by what we've shipped in that week on the comparative title. And then we take the sales estimates that we get from the sales team for what they think that their accounts are going to take for this new book, and we compare the two together. So in this case, we may tweak down a number if we feel like this one's going to be smaller. We may tweak it up if we think it's going to be larger. If there was a publicity plan that was in place for one book that's not going to repeat, we may want to lower down our quantities a little bit. If it prints overseas or domestic, that's part of it as well. If there's anything special effect wise, if there's a gatefold or a foil or a special anything special about it, that's going to add time to the printing as well. So there are a lot of little pieces. Inventory people are definitely data people. There's a lot that we look at and a lot of moving parts that we have to put together to come up with a recommendation and a big picture view of a title.
So this, I might be jumping ahead, but I don't want to forget this question. So how does it work with say Amazon? See, I don't really understand how a book will be out of print everywhere, not out of print, but like out of stock, like at bookshop.org at my local indie, but there'll be plenty of copies on Amazon. And I'm like, well, how is this working?
Now we could talk for hours. It's interesting. I mean, it's each account, and this might be a better question for the sales team if you ever have one of them on here, but each account has a different ordering pattern and a different amount of inventory they want to keep on hand. Where somebody like a Barnes and Noble usually will order from us and keep somewhere between 8 to 12 weeks of stock on hand. Amazon orders a lot more frequently from us and in a lot in smaller quantities. So they are constantly ordering books and taking in small quantities. So they have this constant flow of inventory coming in. So that may be a case of why they may have it on hand and other people don't. For our domestic titles, there's also a program that Amazon has where they can fulfill orders on their own for some titles. When we've given them the okay, they have their own ability to print books,
Oh,
which they
wow.
will do for a gap amount of time. So if we don't have a book on hand and we're waiting for stock to come in from our vendors, sometimes they can go and print that book and fulfill customer orders until our reprint delivers. Yeah, I mean, there are limitations on that program based on what kind of book it is. Is it a hardcover or trade paperback? Is it one color or four color? There's a whole bunch of different parameters for that program, but that sometimes is another way they can get inventory when other people don't have it.
Yeah. So, but basically, it's not really. It's a them ordering thing, not a
Yeah,
publishing inventory thing. Got it.
right. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
I mean, I guess there are cases where because this comes up where an author or an agent might say, "Oh, are we having a stock issue because of this?" And then I'll look it up, and then I will see, "Oh, it looks like we're out of stock at our warehouse. We
Yeah,
have a reprint coming in like X amount of weeks." But there's still inventory out there. So
right.
I think that's when some accounts might still have inventory for whatever reason, and then other accounts are sold out. And I guess every account must have their own way of trying to calculate how many copies they're going to sell, and
Yeah,
and many of them may either over it's like we love it when say Target takes a lot of copies, but it's also a risk because they might not sell through, so it's like this balance of, wanting to guess correctly what the demand is going to be, and it's just
yeah.
not.
And Target's an interesting one too, because like the Walmarts and Targets of the world, Books don't go directly from our warehouse to their stores. They have to go through their warehouses. So that adds another layer of time that it takes, where, somebody might be like, I went to my, an author might have gone to their local Target and the book's not there, but that doesn't mean that ReaderLink, who is their parent, company, doesn't have the books, or we don't have the books. It's just in transit somewhere to get to them that,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
So speaking of, I guess, trying to figure out like all of these numbers and predictions, are there certain tools or systems or skills, I guess, that you use in most in your
Oh,
job?
there are a lot of tools and
Math,
systems
a lot of
that
math.
we
Yeah, I
use. A
feel like
lot
you
of
have to be
math,
very good at
a lot of
math.
math. Excel is my very best friend. Um, we have a system on our end called SCP, which is an Oracle-based system, which helps us with our forecasting. It forecasts. It's a place where we can go in and create these forecasts that we do for new titles using our comparative titles and all this other, information that I mentioned. But it also can take the rate of movement of our backlist titles and the planner lead times that I mentioned before for printing and spit out recommendations for us. So if we go, Alvina, you'll know this, we once a month we have a reprint meeting where we bring up backlist titles that we're getting low on stock and we want to reprint and bring more books into the warehouse so we can, replenish. Those agendas are created by our system, which says based on the amount of time it takes to print and the amount of time it takes to get the materials to print and your rate of movement, you need to press the button now to get books in time before you go out of stock. So it'll spit out about 300, 400 titles at me for a month. And then I whittle that list down to what actually needs to be printed, because a system can't really know the nuances of a business. So if there was a promotion and some account took a huge quantity that's not going to reprint, or it was a holiday book and that's not going to happen again, the system can't read that. That's where I have to come in and put that human touch on it and say, okay, well, this is saying we need to reprint this, but we actually can wait a few more months. So that's one system we use. We also really rely on book scan and POS data. So we know how much of a book is shipping through a register at a store, because that's going to, Alvina mentioned before that we may be out of stock, but an account may have books. So we may look like we need to reprint something when we actually really don't, because the accounts are well stocked. So we use book scan data and our sales tracker system to pull up reporting. It's a lot of reporting. There's also a lot of different things we have to look at outside of just what we're reprinting or first printing. We look at overstock, obsolescence, inventory. We look at we're constantly changing prices, so we have to look at when a current price is selling down and we need to flip over to a new price. So we have reports for all these different things that we are always moving the needle on.
It's a lot.
It is.
So you
Yeah.
mentioned sales, you mentioned production, but what are the other departments and roles that you interact with most in your job?
This is one of my favorite parts of my job, is that I basically get to work with every department at the company. It's a lot of information gathering and data gathering from a lot of different places. I work very close with publishers because they are the bottom line decision makers on everything we do. I work with production a lot because we are always in constant conversation about scheduling and getting reprints in or first prints in and moving dates and if things are shifting. I work a lot with the sales department because I have to know what they are seeing on their end at their accounts and what we may need and when we may need it. I work with the warehouse and the fulfillment teams because we have to make sure that the books are getting out of the warehouse on time, and we are filling the orders that we need to fill. We're also moving things around in the warehouse to make room. I work with marketing and publicity because I have to know their plans. So it's really nice that I get to work with a little bit of everybody. Finance, because I have to know manufacturing percentages and profit margins and all of that. So it's pretty cool. I get to see every side of the business.
How has the industry changed the most since you started 21 years ago or 18
Yeah.
years ago?
Yeah. I would say the biggest change, is just the shifting from physical to ebook. We're very lucky that we weren't affected as much as, say, the music industry, and there was a
Yeah.
plateau at some point with that. So the physical book is still very much alive, but it definitely puts things in perspective when you're trying to right size printings, especially when you don't know which way it's gonna fall. There are certain authors and titles and types of books that are always going to sell better in than they do in physical form, and vice
Which
versa.
ones? Just because we like to, authors like to know.
Yeah,
Is it like romance or
I feel like romance is very e-driven. I don't know why. I don't know if
I
it's
think they like
because
people like to read it fast and like
yeah,
next one and read the next one.
yeah. I feel like that's a really big one. The new thing now is audiobook, so I feel like that's
Hmm.
taking a real shift too. For me, one of the biggest shifts in the industry and that hit me the hardest was, losing some of our brick and mortars like Borders, and like Borders was one of my favorite stores. I loved going
Oh,
there, and it's
yeah.
gone.
Because
So,
it's speak
and
books and music. It was
exactly.
your
Brought
two
all my
loves.
passions together. Yeah, so I think those were like the biggest changes that I've seen. Also on, specifically on my end of things, our ability to our print vendors have sort of dwindled as well. Our There's been a lot of consolidation in the print vendors. So where we were able to at one time turn around a domestic printing in 5 to 10 days, our minimums now are closer to 3 to 4 weeks. So it's just our ability to get things as quickly as we once did is not a reality anymore. So you kind of have to plan a little bit longer now for the that eventuality. But
Yeah. Okay, so what is your typical workday like? What takes up the bulk of your working day?
it really depends on the day in the week. We work in cycles in our department, so it may be a front list or a book that has not gone on sale week for us, where we're forecasting new titles that are going to come to our print meeting. We do, like I mentioned before, we do reprint meetings once a month, so it may be planning and plotting for that and reviewing those reports and getting those agendas out. Typically, when I come in the morning, the first thing I do is there are about 10 reports waiting for me in my inbox that cover a slew of different things that have to be moved. We look at titles where inventory from the day before has depleted 20% or more, so that way we can react quickly to things if something's moving and it's hot. We have a report for inventory where our current price stock is very, very low, so we can flip over to a new price. So that way there is no, gap in being able to replenish accounts. I have a report to look at that looks at titles that we've decided that we're going to put out of print. So once we reach zero, I have that report of all the titles that I can say we're going to flip this over to a different print status. So my morning is basically just reviewing those reports. And then in the afternoon, it could be any, like I said, it could be front list or back list, depending on what we're doing that week, and just putting out fires. There's always a fire to put out somewhere. Something that was printed wrong. I've had books fall
Mm.
off a boat on their way over from China. I've had, books where the second half of the book is printed upside down, and we have to suddenly go and reprint it and figure out that. There's always something that's going in an odd direction that we have to fix. So.
Oh, yes. Those
I
happen.
once had a truck hit a deer and we were
Oh
late for a
no.
release because the books fell off the truck. So
Oh wow.
Oh.
some wild stories.
Poor dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear, yes.
I know. Oh dear. And then I'm like, I wonder what book it was. Like
Yeah.
what would make it ironic?
Do you remember what book it
I
was?
don't. I don't. It was when I was working at Penguin, so I don't remember, but yeah.
I was just thinking like I hope it wasn't like a I was just thinking about Matt Tavares's like Dasher book. Like what if it was a reindeer book, like a Christmas reindeer book?
Or a cookbook about how to cook
Right.
venison. This guy. All right. What is your favorite part of your job and your least favorite?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with the negative, so we'll get that out of the way. I think my least favorite part is that I feel like inventory is sometimes a misunderstood and underappreciated department and part of the business. I am working at any time on hundreds of titles. I didn't mention this before, but if anybody's interested, I specifically work on LBYR, which is our kids group, which, Alvina and Grace definitely know about. And I also work on Workman, which is we have kids books over there too, but they're more of our coffee table niche cookbook, specialty books. And I would say between the two publishers, I probably work on thousands of unique ISBNs at any time. And it's never really when the job is going well and you're supplying what you need to supply and things are going good, nobody really notices. But when there's a problem, those one or two books that are not working out the way you thought they were, or you're late on something, or we're back ordered, those are the ones that people really notice. Not to say that they shouldn't notice it, but I think it's misunderstood of just how much goes into what we do and how many different moving parts there are to what we do, and on the scale of what of how many titles we're doing it across, across how many titles we're doing it with.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
is
I
one
was
of those thankless
yeah,
jobs a little bit.
I
Yeah.
was listening to this podcast where they were talking about how like there's two parts of every successful venture, and one part is the plumbing, and the plumbing is the part that nobody pays attention to, nobody notices unless it goes wrong. And good plumbing you don't notice, but the problem is like, and I feel like inventory is like the plumbing. Like nobody notices it when you're doing a good job, but when something goes wrong, that's when they realize how important it is.
Yes, I
Well,
completely agree with you on that one.
after people listen to this podcast episode, they will appreciate the plumbing,
I hope so. I hope so. But on the flip side of that, what I love most, I mean, this is going to sound cheesy when I say it, but I just love working on books. I mean, I love the people that I work with. I think out of all of the different people that I've met in my life and all in the different industries I've worked in and interned in and everything, publishing is some of the most passionate people I've ever met in my life. They really, truly love what they do. There is nothing better than sitting in one of those sales meetings and having an editor talk about a book that they've acquired and just to be so excited about it. And it really gets you pumped for that book to come out. And I just love that. I love being part of that electricity that, and I love going into a bookstore and seeing something that I worked on right there on a shelf. Like,
yeah.
my husband or my friends can tell you I do it all the time. I'm like, I worked on that.
I got
It's
that book into the store.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. So, it's just fun to be part of something that's going to hopefully affect a person's life in such a profound way. I love
Yeah.
reading, so I know how it feels for me when I read something that really moves me, and I'm hoping we're doing that for somebody else somewhere.
And I was
Yeah.
thinking about how you're saying how you go through and you have to put the human touch on because I feel like inventory is something that if you don't understand it, people are like, oh, AI can come in and take care of that. And I think it's really good that you emphasize like, no, like I have to go in and make sure that,
Oh,
we
you'd
have
be
the holiday
surprised
season.
how many people think that we just press a button and that's all we do. Like, yeah, well, the system's telling you to order this. You're just pressing that button and ordering it. No, no, it's not. It's looking at numbers and looking at sales patterns and trends and history and what do we have in the warehouse that we can use now? What orders are coming that we have to fill in the future? Do we have materials on hand? Do we have paper? Do we have, covers for this book? Do we, how long is it going to take to get here? There are so many little things that go into it. Is it going to make money? Printing this quantity, is it profitable at that quantity? Do you have to print more? So there are so many different little pieces that go into it that people just don't see. And it's definitely that human touch that's needed to
Mhm.
make it move, basically.
So is there something that you wish that authors and illustrators knew about your job, about inventory management?
And editors.
Oh, I guess an editors too. But I feel like editors
Uh,
already know, but I feel like authors and illustrators, we have no idea.
yeah, that's a good question. Something in particular that I wish they knew. I guess it's mostly just like we've kind of covered this already, but the intricacies and the science of it, it's not, I feel like I'm repeating myself from 2 minutes ago, but it's not as easy as just pressing that button and the data that goes into it. And I think sometimes you can have an author or an illustrator who is just like, well, my local bookstore doesn't have this and I don't understand why. And it's not just us that's making that decision. There's so much behind the scenes of, is it profitable? Do we have to, what's the quantity we can, I know, obviously somebody's gonna get upset when a book has to go out of print, but you have to look at what it's selling, what we can print, how much we can bring in. The reality is, we can't print 10 years of inventory and just hold on to that in the hopes that it's going to eventually go out the door. It's not profitable for the company. It's not helpful for our space in our warehouse. So I wish they just, if I had to teach anybody, if I had to teach somebody anything, it would be that, there's a science behind what we're doing. I really truly feel like demand and supply planning is a science.
Yeah. Well, and I think something that maybe authors and illustrators and maybe editors don't think about a lot is the fact that the warehouse space costs money, right? So it doesn't just hold an infinite number of books. So that's, I think, where, it's like you can't just hold like all of the books and you have
Yeah.
to weigh that with, the new books coming in and how many books are going out. And yeah, it is complicated because
So
I
many
know,
books.
were you going to ask how many books does a warehouse
No, no,
hold?
no. I'm just thinking so many books.
They are so many books, yeah. I mean, I feel like when authors and maybe agents notice inventory most is when the book is out of stock places,
Mhm.
and usually, of course, it happens right in during the holiday season. And at that point, again, there isn't really much we can do. So maybe this is helpful to understanding everything that
So in the
goes into that.
future, we should check if our book's in stock, like way, way before the like we should check in
Yeah.
like August.
Maybe October, September, October. Well, if it's a printing issue, then that's too late. If it's a picture book, it's pretty much too late. But
Yeah,
that's, I
and
mean,
there's even a science that goes behind like planning for the holiday season. Like we have specific reviews we do with the sales team where they come to us with all the books that are focused on Christmas or all the books that are focused on graduation, and we review what we have on hand and we review the months in advance of the holiday to make sure that we can, replenish and our inventories holds so that way we have what we need at that time.
yep. All right. Well, I found this really informative personally. So thank you for all of that. We're going to move on to our fortune cookie segment, which is just a fun random segment. And because this probably will air Thanksgiving week, either Thanksgiving Day or the day after, we just thought we'd talk about Thanksgiving leftovers and what we do with them. Leanna, you're going to be cooking all the food
Yeah.
this year. Are you planning to have leftovers? Do you think you'll have leftovers? What are you going
I'm
to do with them?
hoping so. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday and I love the
Hmm.
Thanksgiving food. So I love to make myself a good Thanksgiving sandwich the day after with all the fixings on it. I've just stumbled upon on Instagram something regarding stuffing and a waffle iron. So I'm
Oh,
Oh,
going
yeah.
to take a crack at that this year if there's stuffing left over and make some stuffing waffles maybe for breakfast the next morning with some cranberry jelly on it or something. But
Yum.
what a good
yeah,
idea.
yeah. I was
Oh,
very intrigued
Instagram.
by that. I was like, that could be delicious. So
Hmm.
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Grace, how about you?
Well, I always just make sandwiches too, but when we talked about this as a topic, I'm like, I want to do something more exciting this year. I don't know what, but I was looking up and I was like, there's always turkey pot pie. I'm like, maybe I'll try turkey pot pie. I doubt that I really will, but I like the idea of it, of using the leftover turkey like a pot pie.
Yeah. Well, so
That could be really good.
what we did last year, and I think I probably saw this on TikTok or Instagram or somewhere, was we made a casserole, a leftover casserole. So basically, it could be whatever leftovers, and you put it in you know, what's it called? A dish, like a
Mhm.
baking dish, and you just layer whatever layers you want, and you could top it with cheese, and then you bake it, and it's
Was
very
it good?
delicious. It's so good. Like I'm
Really? Okay.
excited. We had a lot of leftovers last year, and we probably made like two or three casseroles, and
Mhm.
I froze one of them, and then we ate the others. So I would recommend
Huh. All
A
right. Maybe
Thanksgiving
I'll try that.
leftover casserole.
Okay.
All right. So now we'll end as we always do with what we're grateful for. I guess I could start this week. I'm grateful that our launch meeting is done and that I think it went really well. I felt like all of the editors, we had an editorial meeting and we periodically talk about like what makes for a good launch presentation. And I think it was top of mind for everyone. And we did talk about how, you have to be authentic to how you present. You can't force yourself to present the way that maybe someone else, another editor that you admire, their presentations presents. So that was something that we talked about. And also, like, maybe don't mention names because that's hard for people to really remember anyway. And don't talk about plot too much. And I really thought that and actually that helped me with my own because I realized, I'm gonna keep it, just a little more simple. So I thought it was a really effective launch meeting, and it also is the last one where I will have to do all of the prep
I was going to ask you about
work
that
and
because
coordinating work as editor in chief. So
Yay,
I'm kind of
congratulations.
happy to pass that on to someone
so
else
your
to.
next launch meeting will be under your imprint.
Well, I don't know. I guess we'll have to figure out. I need a name, I need a logo. I actually
Under
don't know how that's going
unnamed.
to work. But I won't be, having to coordinate it all. So I'm grateful for that as well.
Yay.
Grace, what are you grateful for?
Oh gosh, see, I'm not prepared today. But let's see. You know what? I'm really grateful that Ling and Ting's Lunar New Year, Two Times Lucky, got a starred review from the Horn Book and as well as the School Library Journal. And what was really great about it was that they both highlighted different things. Like School Library Journal really kind of highlighted the educational part of it, like, oh, it taught all about the Lunar New Year. And in the Horn Book really pointed out, like, oh, it was so funny with all the characters. So
And
I
the
thought that was
humor.
really,
They
yeah.
Yeah, they really
So I
love the
thought that was
humor.
really, really great. And so I'm really, really grateful that both those journals saw what I was trying to do with the book. And like that doesn't always happen. So I'm really, really grateful for that.
Yay. Leanna, what are you grateful for?
Can I say that I'm grateful that tomorrow's my last day of work before the holiday?
Yes,
Yes, you
totally.
No.
can.
Well, I'm going to say I'm grateful for you too because I this
Oh,
was really
Oh,
exciting and it was a really fun thing to do. I've never done something like this before, so I'm
oh,
glad you
your first
guys,
podcast. Yay.
yeah,
yay.
I'm glad you guys thought about me and gave me the opportunity to educate people on inventory a little bit. So thank you very much.
I
I'm
think it's
Oh,
grateful
really
for you.
important. I really do feel like it's the invisible plumbing. So I'm so glad you came on.
yeah. Thanks so much for joining us. That was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
All
you.
right. And that was the Inventory Management with Lianna Izzo episode. Thank you for listening. And thanks to Alex at Paceyworks Studio for editing this podcast. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend about it.
And tag us on social media using the hashtag BookFriendsForever or send us a message via Instagram at BookFriendsForever_podcast or via our website, BookFriendsForever.com. And please join our Patreon. We will do something with it next year. The link is in the show notes.
I'm Alvina Ling, and you can find me at Planet Alvina on TikTok and at Alvina Ling on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. Leanna, is there any place that people can find you?
I don't have much of a social media presence, but I am on Instagram at Lianna Marie 83.
Yay. Was it last year that we said we were going to do something with Patreon like next year? Like, are we?
Probably. Yes.
So that's like a really hollow promise. Okay, so anyway, I'm Grace Lynn, and you can find me at Pacey Lynn on Instagram and Threads, and author Grace Lynn on Facebook, and Grace Lynn author on TikTok occasionally.
Have a great week and holiday.
Yeah, and don't forget to read. Bye.